Stubbsy, my main man, you've been playing some Nosgoth, haven't you?
I have. I've been playing quite a lot of Nosgoth, actually. But it's not just Nosgoth that I've been playing. I've been playing around with the new class that's coming out called the Vanguard.
Well, hang on, before we get too deep into new classes, and I know people are going to want to know about these, I do want to talk to you a bit about what Nosgoth is, because from my memory, this is the game that was announced when Square Enix were... There were rumours, leaks coming out that we were going to get a new Legacy of Kain game. And Legacy of Kain is a series I adore, and I think a lot of people really, really love, and would love a new game on. And then Nosgoth. And I think it's fair to say that the reaction was pissed off, perhaps is too strong a word, but people were a bit... What is Nosgoth?
Nosgoth is a third-person... It's a multiplayer combat game. I'm reluctant to call it a MOBA because of the connotations that MOBA has, but it is effectively, it is a multiplayer online battle arena.
But a third-person one.
It is third-person. There is two teams, both of 4 players, I want to say, in the main mode. And one team is made up of humans, and the other is vampires. And when you're playing as humans, it's effectively a third-person shooter. You have a weapon, and you've got to fire it at the vampires to kill them. Whereas when you're playing as the vampire, it's more of... It's melee combat, so there's no weapons that you throw at the humans. You have to run up next to them and smash them in the face. Although there is a couple of variations depending on the class that you're playing. So each side is very different to play on, which makes it definitely a game of two halves, because at the minute it's kind of accepted that it's easier to get kills as vampires, and so even if you don't do particularly well on your human side, you can still win the game if you have a really good side on vampires. Now,
here's the thing. So, I don't know much about Nosgoth. In fact, I only pretty much know what you've just told me, but I do know a bit about Legacy of Kain, although it's been a while, I'll be honest with you. So, I did what every good games critic should do, and I pulled up the wiki. And, for example, Nosgoth attracted negative reception. Criticism focused on its conceptual departure from the traditional single-player and story-driven Legacy of Kain formula. Now, that to me suggests that whoever edited the Wikipedia is still pissed off that it's not a traditional Legacy of Kain game. So, bearing that in mind, I want to actually know, is Nosgoth actually decent?
Nosgoth in its current state is quite good. It is officially still early access beta, I think. It came into open beta the other month.
The end of January, I believe. Again, according to the Wikipedia. But so, because you're someone who you know your MOBAs, this is quite good. You're liking it. Why is it a Legacy of Kain game based on what you have experienced? Why didn't they just make it something else? What?
I must admit,
something that wouldn't have pissed people off.
I must admit, I know nothing about the Legacy of Kain universe, so I can't comment particularly on that side of things.
Well, apparently there's a plot. Again, I'm reading off the Wikipedia. After the execution... Oh, no, hang on. That's I won't read that because it's a spoilery, but after someone dies in a game... from what you've said, none of this makes... I don't know. Look, let's just get back on track and stop reading the Wikipedia. You're enjoying it.
Yeah.
I've got it on Steam because I recently bought the Legacy of Kain packs. It was on sale on Square Enix's site for like $1.99, and it was. I think it might still be, depending on when this goes up. But regardless, you're enjoying Nosgoth, and the reason we're doing this video is, partially because I think perhaps a lot of our audience won't have played it, or may actually be put off by the fact it's a Kain game, but not a Kain game, but a Kain game. And it's mostly because you've been playing or seeing the new classes. Is it classes? The new classes?
No, it's just the singular. There's only one new class that I got to try out, which is the Vanguard class on the human side.
Right.
It's quite different to the other human classes that are available. Basically, the Vanguard is your big tank who... The idea behind it is kind of to absorb as much damage as you can whilst your teammates fire at the vampire that's attacking you. You've got a giant shield, which, when you hold right mouse button, it brings it up in front of you, and providing you're facing the vampire, it'll block either all or some of the damage that they're trying to do to you. And then, interestingly, your weapon, I think every other human class has got some sort of either gun or there's one with a bow and arrow. The Vanguard has throwing axes, so you just got these giant axes that you launch in the general direction of the vampire and hope that it hits them, which is unbelievably cool, just the way that they interact with vampires when you do hit them. Like, if you kill one that's fairly close range, it'll like go straight into their head and split it, and they'll fall backwards, and it looks incredibly gory. But the interesting thing about those is that you can aim. They have more of a flight time than bullets do, so you need to aim. If a vampire is moving, you'll need to aim in front of them to hit them, which it sounds like it makes it more difficult, but I found it incredibly easy to do. So I'm wondering if there is some auto-adjust or auto-aim sort of stuff in there. But at the core of it, it is just fun to play. Throwing an axe at a vampire to kill them is unbelievably good fun.
It's weird because I'm still sort of trying to wrap my head around the fact it's a third-person shooter. Because when you say MOBA, and I know you said you were reluctant to say so, but when you say MOBA, I think that has certain visual or design connotations and certainly a method of play that you think of, and I don't think third person.
Yeah, that's because the term MOBA is wrong, because it's associated with Dota and League of Legends, and while they are MOBAs,
exactly,
that's what everyone thinks it is, the MOBA. And so it's kind of wrong to call it a MOBA, even though it is a multiplayer online battle arena, because it is multiplayer, it's online, and you do battle in an arena. But I think you need to get out of the idea that it's anything like Dota or LoL, because it's not. It is just two teams on a map fighting each other, and the main game mode is like kind of a team deathmatch where you've got to try and get to 30 kills before the other team does, and then you switch sides, try and get to 30 kills, and whoever gets the most kills over the two sides wins.
It just sounds more like a third-person shooter to me.
It pretty much is. But you can't really
free to play.
You can't really call it a
beta
shooter, because
right.
One side you don't shoot. You
don't shoot. No,
smack people.
Well, an online multiplayer first-person game or third-person. Sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty much a better description of it.
I just find it so weird that the Legacy of Kain. I've got to get out. I've got to stop thinking about that, because, I mean, it's an open beta. So what do you get the impression the end goal is here? Because this was revealed ages ago.
I think I want to say that they're trying to position it as an eSporty type game.
Well, isn't everyone though now?
Everyone is trying to jump on the bandwagon, although Nosgoth does have a good chance. The ESL
really?
The ESL have picked it up already, and are doing some not majors, but like some open tournaments that people can enter.
But hang on, isn't that a bit weird, given that this is an open beta? So the game is like, they're not pretending that the game isn't finished, right? It's in open beta. They're testing it continually. Presumably, the end result will be a free-to-play game, right?
Yeah, I think it's free to play now as well.
Yeah, I mean, well, in the open beta would mean it's got to be free, but I would have. I just in my head I envision an ESL sanctioned esport not being in beta state. But then I suppose Heroes of the Storm, I suppose.
Heroes of the Storm is still really early on.
Yeah.
Dota 2 was in beta right up until just before the International 4. So the International 3, which had a prize pool of almost 3 million, was still technically a beta game.
And I suppose if they're all playing the same beta,
So
but
I don't think that's an issue.
So where do you see it going then? Like, in terms of, because they're adding a class. Do we know if that's it for the classes, or there will be more? I mean, with this new class? Where are we at with classes? How many is it? Is it evened up? Because you're saying that this class is a human character.
Yeah, I want to say.
So presumably there was an imbalance before, where there were more vampire classes than human classes, or not.
I want to say that there's now one more human class, but that could be totally wrong. Because I
just pulled up a picture of it, and it looks like there's 3 of each in this picture.
No, there's definitely more than 3.
Okay, so that's probably just an old picture I pulled up, right? It's probably just a piece of character art. It probably means nothing. But so from what you were saying there, do you think there will be more to come?
I think there'll be more content to come, because each character has abilities, like 2 abilities that you can use, and I think they'll have more of them. And I wouldn't be surprised to see more classes coming. They may have even announced more classes. I'm not entirely sure. And so they'll definitely be adding more content. Everywhere that it goes, there'll be more content, I think. Otherwise, the open beta would have happened a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I think nearing release, it's going to be interesting to see how they try and market it when it comes up to release. Because if they try and market it at the fans of the Kain series, then
that'd be a mistake.
I think they would have a bad time.
Massive mistake that would be. People are still hurting over there not being any more Kain games, single player games to. But I mean, the one thing we talked about a little while ago now. I mean, obviously people are watching this whenever, so God knows. But there's something we talked about a while ago was Evolve. I mean, you being our eSports editor. We talked about Evolve as an esport, and I think everyone agrees it's just not going to happen. And also the thing you've always said to me is you can't force it. It either happens or it doesn't. You can't just go, well, we're making an esport game. That's not the way it works. But you're saying that the ESL have already picked this up as an esport game. So surely that's the angle you go down. I mean, that's how you get a community playing your game, is when it's already been picked up as the esport, surely.
Yeah, I think that is. I think they would be stupid if they didn't try and push esports at least a bit. I think I'm still waiting on confirmation on this, but I think the ESL thing is actually independent. I think ESL have seen it and gone, that looks cool, we could do tournaments. I don't think it's backed at all by devs or publishers directly.
Sounds like something that Square Enix should be doing and getting involved in, like, rapidly, because there's only so many games any event any esport event can have, isn't there? I mean, you can't have 50 games presumably.
Yeah, you
have to pick your games. I mean, Hearthstone's there, Dota's there, LoL's there, Heroes of the Storms, anything Blizzard makes there basically. I mean, Team Fortress, does that still get played?
Really.
Not really. No.
Like, CS:GO's big.
Yeah.
But I think
Call of Duty now.
Yeah, Call of Duty is massive.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on record and say I don't think Nosgoth will ever make it into the top 6 or 5 or 6 esports. I don't think it'll ever get to Dota or Hearthstone levels.
To be honest, I don't think anything will ever get to those levels unless it's Blizzard made, or I don't see anything ever breaking that tier. Do you?
Smite's come very close recently. Smite is on the border. Before the Dota Asia Championships, the Smite prize pool for the Worlds was 2nd or 3rd largest ever.
Really?
So Smite is definitely knocking on the door. It just needs.
But Smite, in terms of release date, that may be the wrong term I'm using it. But in terms of how long they've been about, where does Smite stand in comparison to Nosgoth?
Oh, Smite is way ahead of Nosgoth. Smite was in beta for years and years, and
I mean, Smite's coming to Xbox One, isn't it?
It is, and I'm really excited about that. I think it could work. Yeah. I don't think there'll ever be a massive esports presence on the Xbox One, but
no, it'll always be. But Nosgoth could, in theory,
Nosgoth would work well on consoles, I think.
But yeah, I was just thinking that by the fact that I mean, to be honest, like, the more we talk about it, the more I'm reading about it, I kind of want to give this a go, because I didn't realise it was a third-person. I nearly said shooter again, but you know what I mean—a third-person action shooty melee game. I didn't realise that at all. I assumed it was the thing about. From my perspective, as somebody who doesn't play Dota, as somebody who doesn't play LoL, you look at them games; they're very similar looking to the naked eye. So when you think, "Oh, Nosgoth, another one of those," you're immediately going to sort of think, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to play Dota or LoL. I didn't realise this was a third-person game at all, and that makes me think, well, actually, I maybe would give this a go, because the way you talk about it reminds me of, I can't remember what the bloody game was. It was a Warner Brothers game. It started on Xbox 360 and PC, and it ended up actually going free to play.
Was it the Batman one? Game. The Batman.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. I can't remember
the name of the game is, but the way you're describing it sounds. Oh God, what is that game? Someone in the comments will tell us, I'm sure. But it really it's just thinking about it's giving me that vibe. Am I very far off that? I mean, that is more of a shooter, admittedly.
Yeah, it's quite similar, sort of, in the way it plays from the shooty side of things. Although it's a totally different tone, because that was quite sort of cartoony and didn't take itself seriously. But Nosgoth does. You're on the right lines thinking of that sort of thing. What I would say is, if you are thinking of giving it a go, it's very easy just to pick up and play.
Now, silly question. I mean, we're jumping all over the place purely because this video is aimed at people who want to see the new class, which they're seeing, but also I think a lot of people who maybe just want to know what this is. And I'm sorry, this is a question I'm going to ask, and I'm sorry to everyone it angers. Can I play it with a controller?
I honestly don't know. Theoretically, it should be possible.
Theoretically?
If you've got some groovy button mapping software, it probably would work.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if there's built-in support for it, but it should work, because all you've got to do is you would use the 2 sticks for moving, aiming, presumably triggers for shooting, or if you're playing vampires for hitting.
Melee, yeah.
And then you've got 2 main abilities, which on keyboard are defaulted to Q and F, I think. And so you could just put them on like square or circle buttons. So it should be possible, I would think. When you're a vampire, you can also climb up buildings to give you like height advantages, so you can see and jump onto enemies when you're unsuspecting. So
that kind of sounds cool. That sounds quite cool.
Yeah, I mean, that bit is what really sets the vampires apart. That's what gives them the slight advantage, because you can sit on like top of a tall part of the map and just watch what they're doing and wait for the opening. And then there's one class that has got a massive pounce ability, so you crouch on the floor for a second and then launch into the air. So what I quite like to do is find a nice perch, watch until, like, say the tank vampire goes in and starts stuff, and as he's being focused, I'll jump in on one of them and rip their face off.
Well, to be honest with you, I think that's as good a place to finish as any, because to me, eSports is like this dark pit that I both fear and find fascinating, and the more we talk, the more I'm finding myself tempted, partially because it sounds different, partially because of the Legacy of Kain connection. Before we do, though, we should have some form of interview feature coming as well. So if you do just watch our stuff on YouTube and you don't know, do keep an eye on godisageek.com, and once it's up, we'll probably post a link in the video description, and we'll have an annotation so you can just click it just about now. Because Mikey, you're chatting to the devs about some stuff, I presume.
Yep, some really exciting stuff that we're hopefully going to be able to bring to you.
Excellent, this is all good news. So yeah, make sure you do keep it on godisageek.com. Make sure you do subscribe as well, because we want you to see our stuff, and that's the easiest way to do so. And if you like just listening to this sort of stuff, again, go to iTunes and just search for Geek Speak, and you should see our logo there as well. Otherwise, Mikey, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I wasn't going to talk about it alone, mate. That's for damn sure. Cheers for watching, and we'll see you in the next vid. Bye for now.
Bye.
Running man! To die! Fight!